Hello, and welcome back to the Misty Morrison Podcast. I'm your host, Misty Morrison, and this is episode 42 of Petty Please. Here on the Misty Morrison Podcast, we love to judge, we love to give advice. On Petty Please specifically, we love to read all the drama and be grateful that it is not us. Posting schedule. We post a long form content every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 a.m. On YouTube and podcast, anywhere you listen to podcasts. We post short form daily, twice a day, 6 a.m., 6 p.m. across socials, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Please remember to engage with the content to help the channel grow. Whether you are listening or watching, please rate, review, like, subscribe, share it with a friend, and comment with your thoughts on the stories down below. All right, into our petty stories for today. Story number 1 is coming to us from r/malicious compliance. This one is tagged as an original. Person wants to use the restroom while we weren't open, so me and staff let them. I don't know if this fits here, but I thought I'd post anyways. I was working at a restaurant in a mall years ago, and of course the mall has their own restroom just like my work had one for customers to use if they came in to eat here. We currently weren't open, so we were getting set up, cleaning, etc. to open for the day. This lady starts to knock on the door. Since I was the closest, I went to go talk to her and inform her we aren't open. So I open the door and go, "Sorry, we aren't open," and she responds, "I need to use your restroom." I kind of stood in shock to this, and even my coworkers were just staring at the lady because we're closed and there's 2 restrooms that all the people can use and we're open at the time. I eventually repeated, "Sorry, we're closed right now." She repeated, "I need to use the restroom." So I go, "Okay," and she kind of just barges past me into my job. Little did she know part of where one of my staff was mopping was right there by the bathroom. So as she walks to the bathroom, she proceeds to fall down. I guess in her embarrassment, she got up and immediately walked out the side door and doesn't say anything to anyone. We all busted out laughing at her, and we all busted out laughing at her. After all, we did tell her we weren't open. Yeah, you complied with her request and she faced the consequences. I'm just glad that the store and you guys were not held responsible for her fall, her slip and fall. She didn't try to pull anything from it. Story number 2 is coming to us from r/malicious compliance. This one is also tagged original. I quit smoking, but my buddy kept offering me cigarettes. As the title says, I had decided to quit smoking. This happened about 30 years ago, and my best friend at the time, let's call him John because that's his name, was clearly jealous about the fact that I could quit and he couldn't. So he kept offering me cigarettes. Every time he'd light up a smoke, he'd offer the pack to me saying, "Want one?" Along with a smug little smile. One day, we're standing on his balcony and he pulls out his deck of smokes. As per routine, he gives me a smug little smile and offers me a smoke. This time, I say yes and take one. His eyebrows lift in surprise, but he reaches into his pocket to grab his lighter. As he hands it to me, I begin tearing the cigarette up, tiny piece by piece, and sprinkling the shredded cigarette off the edge of his balcony. "What the hell?" he says, annoyed. "I thought you said you wanted to smoke." "I did. This is just what I do with them now. By all means, keep offering." He never offered me a smoke again. Brilliant. Brilliant. It was awful of him to, you'd done something good for yourself. You'd done something positive that you wanted to do. You quit. And good for you. And shame on your friend. That was so shitty of him to try to pressure you back into smoking because he's sad he lost his smoking buddy. Good for you. I love what you did. He thought he had you. He thought you gave in. And it worked like a charm. Story number 3 is coming to us from r/malicious compliance, also tagged original. You have to use the kiosk for that. I used to work the service desk at a big box store, the kind with 1,000,000 tiny aisles and a lot of weekend chaos. Corporate rolled out this self-help push, and our store manager repeated it in a meeting. We were not supposed to walk customers to items anymore because it trained dependence. and slowed down the desk. The approved script was to direct them to the new touchscreen kiosk map near the entrance. It sounded harmless on a slide, but in real life, half our customers were older, tired, or just in a hurry, and the kiosk was always surrounded by carts and kids. Still, the instruction was super clear. Use the kiosk, do not leave the desk unless it's for an actual return. So I did exactly that. Lady asks where picture hooks are. I smile and point to the kiosk. Guy asks where the light bulbs are. Kiosk. Someone asks where the restroom is. Yep, kiosk. People would look at me like I was messing with them, and I'd do the same calm line. Store policy, the map will show you. Within an hour, we had a little cluster of confused customers poking the screen, then a line, then a second line for actual returns because I couldn't move faster. One customer got so frustrated they asked for a manager, and I happily called one over, then stood there quietly while the manager spent 10 minutes walking them to the aisle anyway. By the end of the weekend, we had 3 complaints logged, 2 abandoned returns, and the store manager asking why the kiosk area looked like an airport check-in. Monday morning, the rule was magically, use the kiosk when it helps, but just be human about it. I love this. I love it. It's like they come up with these rules not thinking about the population that is served. Especially if it's something that they're used to, regardless of whether it's older customers or not. If it is something that they're used to, that they can just go up to an employee and ask where something is, and you will show them, and it's working fine, why would you change it? When I worked retail one time, there wasn't a stated policy about it either way. That's just what I would do. If someone came in and I could see pretty much where they were in the store, and if I'd seen them look around for a while or not, whatever, sometimes you could tell they had been looking. If someone asks you where something is, just take them to it. How long does it really take? Are we talking about Sam's Club or Costco? That might take a while. But anything smaller than that, you can have the human courtesy to say, oh, yep, I know right where that is. It's in so-and-so aisle. I'll show you. That is what gets people to come back to those stores when they're treated like a human. I'm glad it was just one weekend and they figured out, this sucks. People don't like kiosks. People like people. I love it. Oh, that's really funny. Okay, story number 4 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Gym locker room. I belong to the local gym where everybody is respectful of the rules and people say good morning or a friendly nod. If you need a spot, no problem. Want to work in? Never an issue. Well, you get the idea. However, recently things have changed drastically. After another nearby gym closed, the majority of newcomers have completely ruined the vibe. Not re-racking weights, not wiping machines down, garbage left all over, hogging 2 to 3 machines at a time, etc. I had it when a nice older gentleman asked if he could use the calf raise that a group was not using but had hoodies draped on. They told him no and laughed at him. The gym is unstaffed at certain times of the day, so there was nothing he could do. My idea for some petty revenge came when I saw them in the change room. They had showered and changed, but instead of taking their gym bags home, they each put their gear in a locker and locked it before they left. The gym lockers are for use while at the gym, not a personal closet. My gym only has about 20 lockers, and this group was taking up 5 of them, permanently without any thought for anyone else. Next time I was at the gym, I brought a small bottle of crazy glue and glued the keyhole in their locks. Then I went about my workout and saw the group working out and being a general nuisance. When they left to shower, I followed. Watching them realize they could not get their keys in was priceless. There was no employee there to cut the locks off, so not sure how they dealt with it. After I took a long shower and slowly got dressed, they were still irate and trying to figure out who did it. At this point, I left to not arouse suspicion. I'm not sure how they got their clothes and car keys, etc. out. When I returned to work out the next day, their lockers were cleaned out, ready for the next patron. As they should be. Let's see, there's a gold box comment first thing. It says, I used to work out at a fairly upscale gym that had a vibe much like you've described, except for some. In the locker room after my workout, I saw a gym bag on the floor, wide open, with stinky gym clothes spilling out of it and assorted personal items scattered from hell to breakfast all over the bench. Clearly, somebody here has no manners. By the time I was ready to leave after having showered and put on fresh clothes, all that crap was still there. No idea where the owner was. Oh well, can't have trash in my locker room, can I? So I chucked it in the garbage. Good for you. I love that phrase. I might use that later. Scattered from hell to breakfast. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be inconsiderate of others, you cannot expect others to be considerate of you. I probably wouldn't have chucked it in the garbage, at least not the first time. But I still love that you did. They certainly never left their things out again. And back to the original story where you super glued where they couldn't get their keys in their locks, that is brilliant. Brilliant, because they know someone did it deliberately, but it was still so sneaky. And I love that you were actually there to get to witness it. Good job. The only sad thing is that they did come back. Story number 5 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Okay, I'm losing track of my numbers again. So I just want to point out, I did, in case anyone doesn't watch both Was I in the Wrong and Petty Please, on the last episode of Was I in the Wrong, I did mention that I had ordered like a desktop counter so I could keep track of the stories by just like pressing a button every time I get to the next story. It's not here yet. It actually, like it said it shipped, but it hasn't moved anywhere yet. So I'm probably not going to have it next week either. So we're doing the best we can. Okay, back to the story. If I don't get to sleep, so won't you. A hotel saga. That was last 90s. We were 4 18-year-olds and we brought the That was last 90s. We were 4 18-year-olds and we bought the cheapest travel possible, going from Brazil, where we live, to visit Buenos Aires, Argentina. We did that through a tour guide from Uruguay, and back then there was no way to check the hotel beforehand, etc. Ooh. I never thought about that, not being able to see pictures of the hotel before you got there. Okay. And an aside, before Brazilians started to pour huge amounts of money into Argentina's decaying economy, prejudice against Brazilian skin color was no secret. It was loud, in fact. We just didn't know the extent of it. Anyway, we bought the trip all through him. Some other 15 people were in the same tour. The hotel was, let's say, better than camping. We visited the city during the day, and at night we were going to a nightclub. In Buenos Aires, nothing starts before midnight, so we took a nap beforehand, met with the group at the hotel's door, and left to the nightclub. But we had to split in taxis, which in Buenos Aires is ridiculously cheap. Only our driver decided to cross the Nile, pass by New Zealand, and do the Trans-Siberian before leaving us in a nightclub in front of the river Mar del Plata. Nice place, distant from civilization as well. And we didn't have our tickets, the guide did, and he didn't wait for our taxi. So we stayed outside begging the guards to find the man and bring him to the door. No one would. We even asked for people on the line. No one gave us a second look. That's when it dawned on me that we were being barred because one of our friends was mixed race. She didn't notice. She believed the guide couldn't be found in the crowded place, but I paid attention to the dirty looks in our direction, and I said, let's go back to town and have fun somewhere else. And so we did. But I was furious. Went back to the hotel and couldn't sleep. So what did I do? I called the guide at 3:30 a.m. He answered. I hung up. Again, I call and hang up. I did that many times before he took the phone off the hook, and that left me with no option. In pajamas, I rang his doorbell and ran to hide in the stairs. He got up, who's there? I gave it some time, just enough for him to get comfy in bed, and rang the doorbell again. Look, I was 18 years old and he was nearly 50. Who'd win the whole didn't sleep at all fight? So at 9 a.m. we were supposed to meet at the lobby, and he looked 10 years older. And I was still furious. because I asked him what happened, and he tried to play me for a fool. He was tall, I'm tiny, so in the middle of the lobby, I climbed a chair and argued with him with a finger to his face. The hotel crew was horrified. My friends just looked wide-eyed, and then I asked, also, did you sleep well tonight? With a smirk. He came to push me off the chair. A cleaning lady grabbed his torso. I ran. More people came to hold him, and I kept dialing the phone and hanging up. Also rang the doorbell with my most cynical smile. And now there were like 5 people holding him. And he was expelled from the hotel, as I learned later. Other people from our group took our plane ticket with him, and I never saw him again. How does it feel to be outsmarted by an 18-year-old? P.S. Some seem to be doubting the story. I don't care. It's not AI or translation of any kind. It's my own writing, and I already found bad syntax that I won't fix. Sorry if some of you had such uneventful lives that can't even fathom that a silly story like that petty revenge could be true. Reddit is getting unbearable with all those smartass, ooh, AI slop, as if reality is often a lot more unbelievable than fiction. And my story is very tame. I love this one. It's really the getting up on the chair to bring yourself to his level that gets me. Like, knowing that you could be awake all night and still hack it the next day, no problem. That, like, you started off strong. You taught him a lesson. Then, like, the calls were good. And then you actually went and ding-dong ditched. That was good. But the letting him know the next day, the standing on a chair. I feel like that could be me. Just standing on a chair because you're shorter than them. Oh, I love it. But still not, like, bringing yourself up to their level and not being scared. I'm really glad, like, the cleaning lady and everybody else was there to protect you. But good for you for the courage. Oh my goodness. Story number 6 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Didn't talk that much in a group project. This happened back in high school, but just remembered about after a bunch of posts that group projects showed up on my social media. A teacher in high school liked to give out group projects and tried to change it up from the normal give a presentation on whatever we were talking about. For this particular project, she wanted groups to act like a newscast talking about a groundbreaking story, and the story in question will be the different things we learned about in class for the particular unit. Now, I was paired with either 3 or 4 other people, and I unfortunately don't remember what the original plan was. But it really doesn't matter, because none of them contributed to the writing of the script in general. I ended up writing the whole thing, figuring out who would say what, and tried to make sure that everyone's dialogue is pretty much equal, like one person isn't speaking for majority of the time, or each person talks about at least one very important part of whatever the group project was about. Now, I was frustrated at this point, because so far in the school year, I already had other group projects, and I ended up doing everything for those as well. So I ended up giving myself the least amount of lines. I think I spoke like maybe 5 sentences in the whole skit, whereas everyone else spoke a good chunk more. This was my petty revenge because I don't enjoy speaking in front of people. I hate giving presentations and anything similar. And I hated this project since it was a bunch of talking and acting like news anchors, and we had to record it as well. Now, I was able to just be in it without talking much, and the cherry on top after we did the skit, everything, and my partners decided that it wasn't fair that I didn't speak that much. They went to the teacher and tried to complain about it. Thankfully, the teacher sided with me and said since I wrote the whole script, I added my part, even if I didn't really do the whole news anchor thing. Yes. I'm so glad that your teacher understood what happened and was on your side. And how dare they? How dare the people in this group project actually try to complain about it? I mean, it was brilliant on your part. I had a group project my first semester in college. Never done a group project before. Did not like the idea. So I ended up, well, there was a couple. The first one, I ended up in a group and we had something scheduled and they met without me. Like, I lived far away from the college. They wouldn't schedule it at a time that worked. I drove an hour to go meet them And I wasn't late or anything, but they went ahead. They were all there that day. So they just met earlier, met without me, and didn't tell me anything. So like they excluded me from the planning. So I just did not participate. The day the presentation was due, I was there in class. The group got up and I did not. And the teacher asked what was going on. I said, they excluded me from the planning. I did not contribute to the presentation, so I am not going to present. Okay. So there was a couple other people in the class who had similar situations. So she was very forgiving. So she decided to make us our own new group and we would be able to present the next week. And that worked out great. Another time it was in biology class. I remember the teacher very well. I love that class. So I ended up having to do a group project and it was for like ahead of a test. So I had to do this project there were 4 people sitting at the desk. So the whole desk was the group. And they did not contribute their part. The rest of them knew each other. I didn't know them. We just happened to get put at the same table. And so they didn't do their parts. And they didn't do well on the test. And the teacher asked me after, she's like, so did they participate? And I said, no. She's like, okay. So they got shitty grades and I got a good grade. It worked out. To this day, I would not like a group project. I don't want my grade or my score on something to be determined by someone else's willingness to participate or the way that someone else presents. If I'm going to do the work, I want it to be my work. All right. That is 6. I'm going to double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is 6 stories for this week's episode of Petty Please. Thank you so much for being here. Let me see if I can do one more. Nope, that one's longer. Okay. That is 6 episodes. All right, that is 6 stories for this week's episode of Petty Please. Thank you so much for being here for another episode of the Misty Morrison Podcast, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.